Welcome to the Short Funk Podcast. I'm Tom Barbalet. Today I'd like to describe the time period in the Noble Ape project, or the Nervana project as it was called then, between 1997 and 1998. After spending 2 years in the dormitory, Ursula College at the Australian National University, in 1997 I moved out. And I moved out into a shed which was in the garden of a house that a friend of mine and his girlfriend rented. And eventually they left the house, and I was left in the shed, and new people came in to rent the house. The shed was pretty rustic. It was pretty horrible. It was pretty just generally ghastly. The roof leaked. The toilet was continuously getting blocked. In the winter, if I left wet washing or things like that out, it'd be frozen stiff in the morning. The insulation wasn't good. There were gaps between the exterior walls and the windows. It was just a very rustic environment. I had the family piano, which really kept me company through this period of time, and it was just a bleak existence. I was going to university at the same time, and the shed really motivated a lot more of the development of the Nervana project, as it was called then. Through this period of time, I had friends in Adelaide, South Australia, that had told me that I should put the original manuals together and write a proposal for the Australian Film Commission, and a good portion of my early time in the shed was spent working on this proposal and working with the Australian Film Commission, where I got a grant for 13,000 Australian dollars, which went exclusively on equipment and also setting up a website for the Nervana project. At the end of 1997, I released Isle of the Apes, which was the first of 2 CD-ROMs the project put out. And through this, I got a kind of stipend, I don't know what one would call it, like a sponsorship with a local technology firm that was interested in setting up a virtual reality installation. Through most of 1998, I lived relatively poorly because although I was working for this company and studying, I wasn't really being paid by the company. There were all kinds of problems associated with actually cutting me a check. I worked out at a couple of occasions they owed me about $4,500, and I had to go into their offices and demand payment and do a variety of different things. But I stuck with these folk, and ultimately these are the folk that sponsored me to go to the US after the Rushkoff article, but we'll get up to that. My first aim, having finished the Isle of the Apes CD, was to take this technology to US companies, and I spent the latter part of 1998 planning and organizing and then going on a trip to the US to meet with a fellow at Apple Computer who had been a heavy evangelist of my work within Apple, also to go to BE Inc., who were responsible for BIOS, and various other meetings. I went to Berkeley and I went to UC Davis. There was a bunch of little bits and pieces going on with that trip. But the main outcome of that trip was that I got very, very sick. I got a kind of killer Bay Area flu that I took back to Australia and knocked out a lot of people. What I did bring back also was some records. The first CD-ROM actually had a lot of music, and it was really a growing theme that I would put out these CD-ROMs with both software and music. And that's where we get into 1999, which will be coming up very shortly. Tom Barbalet in San Jose, signing out.